Welcome to Rapid Fire Wednesdays, Q&A for corporate immigration professionals. I'm Kimberley Robidoux, a partner at WR Immigration in our San Diego office. And I'm here today with Miki Matrician, who is the co-managing partner of the Boston office. Good to see you today, Miki.
Hi, Kim. Good to see you.
So for today's installment, we are reviewing the executive orders signed by Trump that deal with immigration in the United States. So last week, Donald Trump was sworn into office as the president of the United States on Monday, January 20th. And within the first day of his presidency, he signed several executive orders that addressed immigration policy. And today we are going to talk about a couple of those executive orders and how they affect foreign national employees and global mobility programs. So the first one that we're going to tackle / address is the executive order that's called Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, which seeks to eliminate birthright citizenship. So this executive order, at least to me, was quite jolting and directly against the 14th Amendment. Miki, can you share with everyone some updates about this executive order?
Yes. So this executive order sought to eliminate birthright citizenship as of February 19th, 2025. And under this order, children born in the United States wouldn't automatically receive U.S. citizenship if their parents were unlawfully present in the U.S. and not U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, or if the parents were temporarily in the U.S. pursuant to non-immigrant visas like B1, B2, F1, H1B, and so on. It was a surprise that the executive order addressed not just undocumented immigrants. I know on the campaign trail, Trump had been talking about birthright citizenship, but the temporary visa holders being subject to the order was a bit of a surprise. Anyway, several states sought a temporary restraining order, and just 3 days after the order, on January 23rd, a federal judge in Seattle blocked enforcement of that order. And it was just one of a number of lawsuits brought by 22 states and a number of civil rights organizations. And the judge basically ruled against that order and issued an injunction saying that it's a violation of the 14th Amendment. So the next few weeks, the judge will decide whether or not to grant a long-term injunction. And then ultimately, if that injunction is challenged, it'll go up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And then if that's challenged, it's possible that it could go all the way up to the Supreme Court, which basically the last time it addressed this question was in 1898.
Yeah, it's a really long time ago that this has been established law for birthright citizenship. And that's a lot to have happened in a couple of days, right? That all transpired in a couple of days. So we have a couple more executive orders that we're going to discuss. And this one, I do have to read it because it's a long one. So the executive order is titled Protecting the United States from Foreign Terrorists and Other National Security and Public Safety Threats. So this executive order mandates a review of countries with potentially insufficient visa vetting processes. So what can you tell us about this particular executive order, Miki?
Yeah. For global mobility and immigration professionals, what they need to know is that a travel ban could be implemented within the next month or 2 months, which could impact foreign national employees' ability to travel, right? This same order would also implement extreme vetting for visa applicants, which would cause visa issuance delays. So, essentially, we would recommend, given this uncertainty of which countries might be included in a travel ban, that non-immigrant visa holders and their families to avoid travel internationally during this period. I know that it could have negative impact on business operations, as well as family vacations and reuniting with family, but that is what we advise at this time. And then for people who do have to travel for some reason, maybe due to a family emergency, and if they don't have valid visa stamps, it's really important to plan for additional time for visa processing at consulates abroad. So for global mobility and immigration professionals, they'll want to review their policies and or prepare new policies that address working from abroad. If an employee is going to be abroad for a long period of time, while they're waiting for the visas to come through, it could impact business operations given time zone differences that might be present, as well as, continuity of the business or projects. And then there's other issues that crop up like tax issues or employment laws in the country where the employee would be working from temporarily if the company doesn't already have an entity at that location. Also, it's important for the foreign national employees to make sure they have the right documentation to come back into the US and also to be able to respond to any questions from Customs and Border Protection when they come back into the US. As we talked about in prior Rapid Fire Wednesday sessions, global mobility and immigration professionals may want to encourage their foreign national employees to provide updates about any planned international travel well in advance so that they can address any potential issues and prepare for the travel and return to the United States. And then I guess one more thing is that once foreign nationals are back in the US, it's really important to check the I 94 record on the CBP website to make sure that they issued the right visa classification and expiration date.
Yeah, those are really good points that you raise. And at this point in time, it's probably ideal for global mobility and immigration professionals to prepare for these issues and develop a plan, as you mentioned, Mickey, if they don't already have a plan, so that they can help individuals who do want to travel abroad and make sure that there's essentially a checklist to go through. Also, you mentioned I-94 document. But as a reminder, it's important for foreign nationals to always carry their latest passport as well as documentation of their status, including a printout of the I-94. It's great to have it on your mobile device or phone, but you never know if your battery dies, right? So you want to have the printout of the I-94 document as well as potentially even a printout of the biographic page of the passport. So, if the status is based on a petition, foreign nationals should also carry their I-797 approval notices, again, to reference status in the US. And if status is based on an L blanket, then they should carry the endorsed Form I-129S that shows their status as an L individual. If a status is based on an EAD, then they want to make sure that they have their EAD and any supporting documentation, like the I-20 for students who have their CPT or OPT or STEM OPT. So those are really key things to remember. Being here in San Diego with CBP having operational control within 100 miles of our border, that covers a huge part of Southern California when you're dealing with the Mexican land port of entry as well as our coastline. People don't always think about the coast as a border, right? So that 100 miles really does go pretty far.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Those are really important points that often don't get talked about. The other executive order that we wanted to address today is the executive order titled Securing Our Borders. And that executive order allocates more resources towards enforcement. Kim, can you tell us more about this executive order and its impacts on foreign nationals and businesses since you are the compliance queen?
Sure. Happy to do so. So, this executive order could result in increased USCIS site visits as well as FDNS site visits. And FDNS is the fraud detection unit that comes in and does these site visits with respect to L1s, H1Bs, STEM OPT extensions. So, any global mobility program that has individuals employed in these specific statuses should make sure that their public access file is updated and properly kept, that they have a public access file for all of their H-1B workers, that the audit file for STEM OPT extension employees is also fully maintained and updated. So those are key points to just make sure kind of going through the checklist to ensure you're compliant with those files. It could also result in Department of Labor investigations, so wage hour, which also weaves over into the H-1B category with respect to any kind of prevailing wage issues. And the Department of Labor investigation could also potentially open up the door for I-9 inspections. If Department of Labor sees violations, they can always refer it over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Homeland Security investigations to conduct an I-9 audit. And then HSI, which is Homeland Security Investigation, could also initiate their own I-9 notices of inspection, which is those audits where employers are given their notification to get their documents, specifically the I-9s, together within 3 business days. And just a reminder to employers and global mobility professionals, don't ever ever waive that 3-day notice, you want to make sure you have as much time as possible to get in compliance. If you're not in compliance now, then Mickey and I recommend getting compliance as best as you can. We understand there's a lot that goes on in business, but these are just some things to be mindful of. There also could be ICE worksite actions, which we have seen in the news, right? There have been some actions that have been at some businesses. There was one in New Jersey. But what we're understanding right now, we're kind of targeted at going after specific individuals who might be undocumented, individuals or those who have a criminal issue and are already in the system, but also be prepared for ICE worksite actions. Know your rights for employees and employers is really critical here as well. And then the other agency that we are, going to be watching is the U.S. Department of Justice's Immigrant and Employee Rights Division, which focuses on discrimination in the I-9 process. So they can open up their own investigations based on something that they found or via a complaint. So those are some things to be mindful of. These actions, more than the global mobility and immigration programs within organization. So the impact is on, not just global mobility programs, it's on the organization as a whole. So typically global mobility professionals will work with others within their organization, such as if they have in-house counsel or in another section of human resources to ensure that they develop and or strengthen their best practices in order to ensure that they have everything that's in compliance. One of those actions could be doing a biannual internal audit together with, trusted counsel to make sure that things are in order. And then we also recommend that document retention policies and purging cadences meet the legal requirements, right? So don't purge documents that you shouldn't purge. And then those that you should purge, make sure to get rid of those. You don't want to turn over documents that could potentially have mistakes on them when you don't need to. And then it's also really important to train front desk and human resources personnel and managers as well how to handle unannounced investigations by the government appropriately so that they, again, know their rights and can have a checklist of what to do and who to contact immediately if they do receive that knock on their door from any of these agencies.
Thanks, Kim. That's really good information, especially with everything that's been in the news lately with ICE operations. And it is so important for companies to stay proactive and conduct their own regular compliance audits and provide resources to foreign nationals and for global mobility and other businesses to kind of work together to mitigate risks and address evolving immigration policies.
Yeah. So I guess that's a wrap for today's Rapid Fire Wednesday and our session on executive orders issued by Trump that will impact immigration processes in 2025. Stay tuned for future episodes where we're going to provide updates on the immigration landscape and any additional actions that are taken that will impact businesses and their global mobility programs. So if you don't already, please follow WR Migration as well as Miki and myself for their individual profiles. And then we also transcribe this and post it to a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to. And the link to subscribe will be in the comments. So good to see you, Miki. And until next time.
Thanks, Kim.